Next, I wanted to talk about the Mayorkas impeachment trial going on right now. If you don't know, Alejandro Mayorkas is the head of the Department of Homeland Security, and the Republicans were started this impeachment trial because of obviously the crisis at the border, but claiming that Mayorkas deliberately ignored things that put the national security at risk in terms of, letting terrorists in through the border. Just being incompetent really is the reasoning behind the impeachment. It will not get past the Senate as expected. The Senate is the Democratic majority. They control the Senate, so it's not surprising. But, Chuck Schumer said that it's not a good thing to use impeachment to settle policy disputes. I agree. But coming from you, of all people, you and your party led multiple bogus impeachment attempts at Donald Trump when he was in office. So, although I agree with you, it's very hypocritical of the left to say stuff like this. I wasn't for impeachment, bogus impeachment trials when the left did it for Donald Trump. So I'm not for it when the Republican Party does it for people on the left that we don't like. We're playing the same game that the left plays is not a good move for Republicans, I believe, because all we're doing is, making that gap wider. All we're doing is raising the political polarization that is already unprecedented in our nation right now, pretty much since the Civil War, I would argue. So I don't think playing the same game with them, trying to win at their game, is the right way to go about things. I think we are bigger than that as conservatives. I believe that we need to I think we're better than that. I think we're better than that. And like I said, playing that game is not going to accomplish anything. And, I mentioned the gap being between the right and the left being as wide as it's been since the Civil War, really. And, the left is going just more and more to the left. What I mean is the moderate Democrats. There's not many moderate Democrats anymore, and they're dwindling. And especially when you have administration like the Biden administration, which is the most radical presidential administration ever, I would argue, in terms of going to the extreme of their political party. I mean, the Biden administration is so radically left and woke, it's absurd. So they're not helping the situation at all. All they're doing is pushing the left even more towards the left. And his inaugural speech was uniting the nation, claiming that Donald Trump ruined the nation in terms of everybody hating each other from the right and the left, and he was going to be a president of all people, including people that didn't vote for him. And yet from day one of his presidency has done nothing but launch an attack on the MAGA Republicans. So he's not helped this case at all. And if you look at the right, the right is more spread out, and there's a lot more moderate Republicans than there are moderate Democrats. And the far right of the Republican Party is a lot smaller than the far left of the Democratic Party. So I understand the argument from Republicans that, I don't have to tell you that politics has become a game. And I understand the argument of, if the Republican Party doesn't lean more towards the right and become even more radical, then we're not going to get anything done. And we being the Republican Party, I understand that, but we can't play that game because it's not a good game to play. Politics being a game and there being teams like it has become over the last several years is not good for politics. It's not good for America. There's a reason that George Washington warned us against the forming of political parties. We're seeing it manifest itself right now. There's nothing but drama. It's like the politicians are seeing themselves as reality TV stars almost. And when you sign to become a politician, you're not running on your own beliefs and your own original ideas. Whether you have an R or a D next to your name, you're just a number pretty much. You're just a number for, whether Republicans will have control over the House or the Senate. You're not running as you yourself and your original ideas. You're running as either a Republican or a Democrat. And, you know, it's crazy that even ballots have an option to like bubble in to vote all Republican, vote all Democrat instead of voting on independent, candidates. So, all this to say, the impeachment game that's what it is. Impeachment has become a game. You don't like somebody, then you impeach them because you're mad that they're in power. That's essentially what it is. And me saying that doesn't mean I disagree that Alejandro Mayorkas is a terrible human being, allowing existential crisis at the border. All that stuff is true. Should he be impeached for that? I don't see a discrete law that he broke that will back up the impeachment claim. I mean, all the stuff that they're arguing the Republicans are true, but I don't like that game being played. It gives me a headache. It gave me a headache when the left did it, and I don't like Republicans doing it either, because all it's doing is dividing us even more. Impeachment should be what it used to be, a bipartisan sort of last resort. Somebody did something so awful that they have to go, and you'll get bipartisan support that they have to go, like Watergate, for example. It does not need to be a political weapon, and I say that for both sides of the aisle. Obviously, like I said, the left has become so radicalized that they're going to keep playing the game. I just think the Republican Party needs to be bigger than that and not play the game with them. I don't think the Republican Party doubling down and going even more to the radical right and to the far right will solve any problems. Like I said, the argument that we won't get anything done if that's not the case, I don't really buy that, essentially. But I understand what they're saying. I just think is for the good of our nation, we need to make that gap smaller between the right and the left and stop dividing everybody and bring down the political polarization from what it is right now. And it's get politics from stop becoming a game. Have politicians see themselves as public servants again. They don't see themselves as that right now. They see themselves as like TV stars, essentially. Like they do it for the fame, I believe is what they're doing it for. And, make politics what it should be again. Make it a public servanthood for the U.S. citizen and not participating in this game and making everything dramatized and impeaching everybody that you don't like. It needs to stop. And this Mayorkas, we're impeaching people with no, all the Republicans knew that this wasn't going to get past the Senate. So what's the point of even doing it in the first place? You're not accomplishing anything except wasting time. And I say that agreeing with everything that they were saying about Alejandro Mayorkas. That's not the point. The point is you're wasting taxpayers' money and you're wasting time that could be spent on actually trying to fix the border when you know that trying to get Mayorkas impeached was failed from the get-go. It was never going to work. So why even do it in the first place? It's exhausting. It's annoying. I wish it would just stop. And I don't want the Republican Party to lean more into the far right, trying to double down and play the game the left is playing. We don't have to do that. We being Republicans, we don't have to play that game. And I hope we don't play that game. And things won't get better unless that game stops.